All right, let's talk about one of the most beloved characters out there, Chota Beam. Now, when you think of him, there's probably one thing that immediately comes to mind, right?
Of course, it's the Ladus. The guy eats a bunch of them, and suddenly he has superhuman strength. It's his signature move. It's what he's famous for. But is that really the whole story of how he protects his home, Dolakpur? Because when you start looking a little closer at his adventures, you start to see a completely different pattern emerge. So in this explainer, we're going to dive into some of Beam's toughest challenges to uncover the true source of his heroism. And I'm telling you, it might not be what you think. Okay, first up, let's look at those times when the enemy isn't what they appear to be and where brute force just isn't going to cut it. So get this. A tree in the forest just starts talking out of nowhere. And it's not a friendly chat. It's threatening to destroy all of Dolakpur unless the villagers bring it food and money. As you can imagine, everyone is terrified. Now, the Beam we think we know might just try to punch the tree, but he doesn't. He senses something's a little off. So instead of using his brawn, he uses his brain. He has his friend Jagu go investigate. And what do they find? The so-called ghost is actually just a common thief hiding inside the tree, trying to pull off a scam.
Okay, so a fake ghost is one thing, but what about a real one? Well, next we meet Gubbara, an actual ghost who's using these magical rings to control Beam's friends. His plan? To turn them all into ghosts just like him. But Beam quickly figures out that Gubbara isn't really evil. He's just incredibly lonely. And this is the key moment. Beam doesn't fight him. No. He offers him something way more powerful. Friendship. He completely resolves this crisis, not with strength, but with pure empathy. So what happens when the enemy is a real fighter, someone who actually can't be beaten with a simple punch? Meet Amar. This is a warrior who has conquered every single neighboring village. And his signature move? He defeats their strongest champions without them ever laying a single finger on him. The guy is literally untouchable. So in their first fight, Beam does what he knows best. He goes in, all Ladu powered up, and relies totally on his strength. And he gets absolutely crushed. He can't even touch Amar. It's a huge blow, not just to Beam, but to the morale of all of Dalakpur. So for the rematch, Beam doesn't train his muscles. He uses his mind. He just observes Amar and notices this really rigid pre-fight ritual. Amar has to shake hands with his opponent before every single fight. It's a psychological thing, a need for him. And here's the genius move. The next time they face off, Beam simply refuses the handshake. And that one small act completely shatters Amar's concentration. The invincible warrior gets all flustered, he's thrown off his game, and Beam wins. Not with more power, but with a super clever psychological strategy. You know, this brings us to another pattern we see all the time. Beam often faces problems that are really more like puzzles, where you have to understand the rules of the game, not just try to break everything. I mean, seriously, he and his friends are constantly running into these magical objects that just cause total chaos in Dalakpur, everything from cursed board games to these worlds-destroying orbs.
For example, when they find a cursed board game that makes everything that happens in the game happen in real life, they figure out that smashing it just won't work. They have to play it to the very end and then put it back in its special box to contain it. It's all about following the rules. Then there's this other time when a chair seems to be magically teleporting all over the village, just causing all sorts of confusion. You'd think, okay, is it possessed? Is it just random magic? But Beam realizes the chair isn't the problem. It's the clue. It's actually trying to lead them to a thief who stole some of their friends' clothes. So again, the solution wasn't force. It was observation and some good old-fashioned deduction. So, when we put all the evidence from these adventures together, a much clearer, more complete picture of our hero starts to emerge. Time and time again, yeah, his strength is useful, but his most effective tools aren't his strong arms. They're his sharp mind, which lets him see past deceptions, and his compassionate heart, which lets him turn enemies into friends. So, what this all really boils down to is that Beam kind of redefines what it means to be a hero. The Lados, sure, they give him physical power, but it's his character, his intelligence, and his empathy that truly saves the day, pretty much every single time. And that leaves us with one final thought. It makes you think about the stories we tell and the qualities we choose to celebrate. Is the greatest strength the one that can lift a boulder, or is it the one that can lift up a friend?